The Path of the Praying Heart. Part 1. The Distant Call. Amira sat at the edge of her small balcony in Cairo, her fingers tracing the worn prayer beads her grandmother had given her years ago. At 32, she felt lost successful architect whose professional achievements seemed hollow against the growing emptiness in her heart. The afternoon call to prayer echoed across the city, its melodic sound weaving through the bustling streets and between ancient buildings. Amira closed her eyes, remembering her childhood when prayer was as natural as breathing. Her father, Hassan, had been a devout man who taught her that Salah prayer was not just a ritual, but a direct conversation with Allah. Prayer, he would say, is the bridge between your heart and the divine. It transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. But somewhere along her journey, Amira had lost that connection. Her days became a blur of deadlines, meetings, and professional ambitions. Prayer had become a distant memory, a childhood practice she had gradually abandoned. Part 2. The unexpected guidance. On Friday afternoon, after a particularly challenging week at her architectural firm, Amira decided to visit the historic Al-Azhar Mosque. She hadn't entered a mosque for prayer in years, but something inexplicable drew her there. The mosque was a sanctuary of peace. Intricate geometric patterns adorned the walls, and soft light filtered through stained glass windows. An elderly imam noticed her hesitation and approached her with kind eyes. "Sometimes," he said gently, "we lose our way, but Allah's path is always open." He shared a story about Bilal ibn Rabah, the first muezzin in Islamic history, who was enslaved and persecuted but never abandoned his faith. His unwavering commitment to prayer had transformed his suffering into spiritual strength. The Imam taught Amira about the 5 daily prayers, Fajr, Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. Explaining that each prayer was more than a physical act, it was a moment of reflection, a pause in the chaos of life to reconnect with one's inner self and with Allah. Part 3. The Inner Journey. Inspired by the Imam's words, Amira began to reintegrate prayer into her life. She started with small steps, setting aside just a few minutes each day to perform Salah. Her first attempts were awkward. She struggled to remember the movements, the recitations. But gradually, something began to change. The physical act of prayer, standing, bowing, prostrating, became a form of meditation. Each movement was a surrender, a letting go of her ego and professional pressures. She learned to create a sacred space in her home, laying out a simple prayer rug facing towards Mecca. The rhythmic movements of prayer became a sanctuary, a place of inner peace and reflection. Part 4. Transformation. Months passed. Amira's architectural designs began to reflect her inner transformation. She started incorporating spiritual elements into her workspaces that invited contemplation, designs that respected the human need for connection and peace. Her colleagues noticed a change. She was calmer, more centered. Her creativity flourished, not from stress and competition, but from a sense of inner harmony. During a challenging project redesigning a community center, Amira remembered the Imam's words about Bilal. She approached the design not as a commercial venture, but as a service way to create spaces that could nurture community and spiritual growth. Part 5. Full Circle. On the anniversary of her father's passing, Amira visited his grave. She performed a special prayer, tears streaming down her face, feeling a profound connection to her father's teachings and to her own spiritual journey. She realized that prayer was not about perfection, but about intention. It was about creating a constant, loving dialogue with the divine, acknowledging one's vulnerabilities while embracing hope and trust in Allah's plan. Epilogue. Prayer had transformed Amira. It wasn't just a religious practice, but a pathway to understanding herself, her purpose, and her connection to something greater than her individual achievements. She understood now what her father had always tried to teach her. that true success is not measured by external accomplishments, but by the depth of one's spiritual journey and the sincerity of one's heart. And when my servants ask you, O Muhammad, concerning me, indeed I am near. I respond to the invocation of the supplicant when he calls upon me. Al-Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah 186,